Hello people and welcome to the Counterfactual Stories YouTube channel. In today's episode we will talk about one very interesting topic, and that is Department for Protecting the Public Security and Order, or Охрана. Before we start, don't forget to press subscribe button. Охрана was the secret police force of the Russian Empire and the part of the police department of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. In Russian, it's called Отделение по охранению общественной безопасности и порядка. In English sources, it's called usually just Охрана. Охрана is formed to combat political terrorism and left-wing revolutionary activity. The Охрана operate offices through the Russian Empire, as well as satellite agencies in a number of foreign countries. It concentrated on monitoring the activities of Russian revolutionary abroad, including in Paris, where the Охрана agent Pyotr Rachkovsky was based before returning to service in St. Petersburg. The Охрана deployed multiple methods, including covert operations, undercover agents, and so-called petrustration, the reading of private correspondence. The Охрana's foreign agency also served to monitor revolutionary activity. Охрана became notorious for its agent provocateurs, including Yakov Zhytomyrsky, a leading Bolshevik and close associate of Vladimir Lenin, then Yevno Azev, Roman Malinovsky, and Dmitry Bogrov. The Охрана tried to compromise the labor movement by setting up police-run trade unions, a practice known as Zubatovshchina. The communists blamed the Охрана in part for the Bloody Sunday event of January 1905, when the Tsarist troops killed hundreds of unarmed protesters who were marching during a demonstration organized by Father Gapon, and with the participation of Piotr Rutenberg. Many historians, such as German historian Konrad Hayden and Russian historian Mikhail Lepekin, maintain that Matvey Golonovsky, a writer and Охрана agent, fabricated the first edition of the Protocols of the Elders of Sion. The organization also fabricated documentation connected with the anti-Semitic Belize trial of 1913. Suspects captured by the Охрана were passed to the judicial system of the Russian Empire. The Охрана never received more than 10% of the police budget. Its allocation peaked at 5 million rubles in 1914. Despite the reforms in the early 19th century, the practice of torture was never truly abolished. Possibly the formation of the Охрана led to increasing use of torture, due to the Охрана using methods such as arbitrary arrest, detention, and torture to gain information. Claims persisted the Охрана had operated torture chambers in places like Warsaw, Riga, Odessa, and in a majority of the urban centers. But forerunners of the Охрана as Russian Secret Service, including the Secret Prikaz, the Preobrazhensky Prikaz, the Secret Chancellery, the Secret Expedition, and the third section of His Imperial Majesty on Chancellery. The first Special Security Department was Department on Protecting the Order of Public Peace, under the head of St. Petersburg, set up in 1866 after a failed assassination attempt on Emperor Alexander II, with a staff of 12 investigators. Its street address, Fontanka 16, was publicly known in the Russian Empire. After another failed assassination attempt on August 6, 1880, the emperor, acting on proposals made by Count Loris Melikov, established the Department of State Police under Ministry of the Interior, and transferred part of the Special Corps of Gendarmes and the third section of the Imperial Chancellery to the new body. The position of Chief of Gendarmes was merged with that of the Minister, and Commander of the Corps was assigned as a deputy of the Minister. Still, these measures did not prevent the assassination of Alexander II in March 1881. In attempt to implement preventive security measures, Emperor Alexander II immediately set up two more security and investigation secret police stations, supervised by gendarmerie officers in Moscow and Warsaw. They became the basis of the later Охрана. The Imperial Gendarmerie still operated as a security police in the rest of the country through their gubernal and uyezd directorates. The emperor also established a special conference under the MVD in 1881, which had the right to declare a state of emergency. Security in various parts of the empire, which was actively used in the time of the 1905 revolution, and subordinated all the imperial police forces to the commander of the gendarmeries in 1882. The rise of the socialist movement led to the integration of security forces. From 1898, the special section, also bit Odděl, of Department of Police succeeded the gendarmes in the role of gaining information from domesticated foreign agents and perlustration. Following the Socialist Revolutionary Party's assassination of MVD Minister Dmitry C. Pyagin on April 2, 1902, the new minister Vyacheslav von Plech gradually relieved the directorates of gendarmeries of their investigation power in favor of security and investigation station under respective majors and governors, who as a matter of fact were subordinate to the MVD minister. The Охрана used many seemingly unorthodox methods in the pursuit of its mission to defend the Tsarist monarchy. Indeed, some of the Охрana's activities even contributed to the wave of domestic unrest and revolutionary terror that they were intended to quell. Perhaps most paradoxal of all was the Охрana's collaboration with revolutionary organizations. Early Охрана agents to work alongside revolutionaries included Lieutenant Colonel Georgy Sudeikin of the St. Petersburg Special Station, who in 1882 set up an illegal printing operation to publish the revolutionary People's Will literature with Охрана fonts. Sudeikin and his colleague, a revolutionary-turned-police informant named Sergei Degaev, passed drafts of the publication through Охрana's censors before printing. This episode marked the beginning of the Охрana's efforts to surreptitiously observe but also influence and undermine revolutionary movements. This focus on infiltrating and influencing revolutionary groups rather than merely identifying and arresting their members intensified with the innovation of the one Охрана bureau chief Sergei Zubatov, while P.I. Rachkovsky, as head of the Охрana's foreign agency, had long ordered Охрана agents to infiltrate and influence revolutionary movement abroad. Zubatov brought these tactics to a new level by setting up Охрana-controlled trade unions, the foundation of police socialism. Perhaps reorganizing the same discontent among factory workers that the Bolsheviks sought to exploit to start a revolution. Zubatov hoped the unions would mollify factory workers with improvements in working conditions and thus prevent workers from joining revolutionary movement that threatened the monarchy. To this end, Zubatov set up the Moscow Mechanical Production Workers Mutual Aid Society in May 1901. After Zubatov becoming head of the special section in 1902, he expanded his trade unions from Moscow to St. Petersburg and to southern Russia. Zubatovity trade unions achieved moderate success at channeling workers' political agitations away from revolutionary movements and toward labor improvements, especially in the cities of Minsk and Odessa, with one high-ranking official noting that many revolutionaries and workers were joining the unions. However, Zubatov, if not police socialism, became discredited in the summer of 1903 after the Охрана officer in charge of the Odessa Union allowed a strike to get out of hand, causing a mass movement which paralyzed the region. Although the police-run unions continued to operate after Zubatov's ousting, without Охрана funding they proved more a liability than an asset. The Assembly of Working Men, a police-run union with about 6,000 to 8,000 members, formed by the alleged Охрана agent father Georgi Capon, sparked the Bloody Sunday massacre of January 1905, a milestone in the revolution of 1905, when union members marched peacefully on the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. The Охрана complemented police socialism and other projects to prevent the conditions in which revolutionary movements could take hold by pursuing initiatives to curtail the activities of existing organizations. Yevno Azev, the notorious Охрана provocateur who became the head of the Socialist Revolutionary Fighting Organization, epitomized the Охrana's inscrutable practice of revolutionary group infiltration. While the Охрана managed to embed many of its agents in revolutionary organizations, the police preferred to slowly gather intelligence and to attempt to interfere with revolutionary work surreptitiously rather than to arrest known revolutionaries immediately. The police led to numerous dubious acts on the part of police spies who needed to participate in revolutionary activities to avoid suspicion, as when Yevno Azev, as head of the SRFO, ordered the assassination of Plehve on July 15, 1904. For over 20 years, the Охрана had focused on interfering with the activities of relatively small and distinct revolutionary groups. The revolution of 1905, characterized by seemingly spontaneous marches and strikes, exposed the Охrana's inefficiency at controlling mass popular movements. Not only did the Охрана lack the capacity to prevent the mass movements of 1905 or even to contain them once they began, the Охrana's misguided attempts may even have worsened the unrest. D.F. Trepov, the Assistant Minister of the Interior in charge of police affairs, and P.I. Rachkovsky, now in charge of all domestic political police operations, attempt to mount an aggressive offensive against those they believed to be responsible for the unrest, namely Zemstvo employees, in May 1905, but backed down 3 months later. In October of that year, Trepov again attempted a violent response of the revolution, only to call off the effort for lack of manpower. Since these attempts at repression never reached fruition, they only served to aggravate the already enraged Russian populace and to deepen their distrust of the imperial government. Trepov's replacement by P. N. Durnov in late October ushered in a period of even more vicious repression of the revolutionaries. Indicative of this new period is the head of the St. Petersburg Special Section, Gerasimov strike, on the St. Petersburg Soviet. The Emperor Nicholas II, the Light Gerasimov arrested delegates of the Soviet en masse on December 3, 1905. Along with the repression and the end of the revolutionary of 1905 came a shift in political police mentality. Gone were the days of Nicholas I white glove of the moral police. Post-1905, the political police feared that the Russian people were as eager to destroy them as to depose the emperor. Following the outbreak of the 1905 revolution and assassination of Plehve, Pyotr Stolpin, as the new MVD minister and chairman of the Council of the Ministers, set up a nationwide net security station. By 1908, there were 31 stations and more than 60 by 1911. 2 more special sections of the Department of Police were organized in 1906. The centralized security section of the Department of Police was created on February 9, 1907. It was located at 16 Fontanka, St. Petersburg. The exposure of Yevno Azev, who had organized many assassinations including that of Plehve, and Dmitry Bogrov, who assassinated the Stolpin in 1911 as Охрана double agent, put the agency method under great suspicion. The organization was further compromised by the discovery of many similar double agents provocateurs. In autumn 1913, all of the security stations except the regional Moscow, St. Petersburg and Warsaw once were dismissed. The start of World War I in 1914 marked a shift from the anti-revolutionary activities of the Department of Police to counterintelligence. However, the efforts of the department were poorly synchronized with the counterintelligence unit of the General Staff and of the Army. Just as the Охрана had once sponsored trade unions to divert activist energy from political causes, so too did the secret police attempt to promote the Bolshevik party. As the Bolsheviks seemed a relatively harmless alternative to more violent revolutionary groups, indeed, to the Охрана, Lenin seemed to actively hinder the revolutionary movement by denouncing other revolutionary groups and refusing to cooperate with them. To aid the Bolsheviks at the expense of their revolutionaries, the Охрана helped Roman Malinovsky, a police spy who had managed to rise within the Bolshevik hierarchy and gain Lenin's trust, in his bid to become a Bolshevik delegate to the Duma in 1912. To this end, the Охрана sequestered Malinovsky's criminal record and arrested other candidates for the seat. Malinovsky won the seat and led the Bolshevik delegation in the Fourth Duma until 1914, but even with the information Malinovsky and other informants provided to the Охрана, the police were unprepared for the rise of Bolshevism in 1917. Although the secret police had agents within the Bolshevik organization, other factors contributed to the Охрana's inefficiency at averting the events in 1917. Among these factors was the ban on police spies within the military promulgated by the Deputy Minister of Interior Vladimir Junakovsky, who found the practice dishonorable and damaging to morale, while the beginning of World War I in 1914 moved the Охрana's attentions initially from countering revolutionaries to countering German espionage. The focus quickly shifted back as it was revealed that the Germans were heavily funding Russian revolutionary groups in order to destabilize the Russian Empire. Despite the renewed attention, the Russian Revolution of 1917 took the secret police and the country by surprise. Indeed, the Охрana's persistent focus on revolutionary groups may have resulted in the secret police not fully appreciating the deep-seated popular unrest brewing in Russia. The revolutionaries identified the Охрана as one of the main symbols of Tsarist repression, and its headquarters were sacked and burned on 27 February 1917. The newly formed provisional government then disbanded the whole organization and released most of the political prisoners held by the Tsarist regime. Revelations of the Охрana's earlier abuses heightened public hostility toward the secret police after the 1917 February Revolution and made it very dangerous to be a political policeman. The fact, along with the St. Petersburg Soviet's insistence on the dissolution of the regular Tsarist police force, as well as the political police, meant that the Охрана quickly and quietly disappeared. Some Охрана functionaries continued their activities in the Civil War period between 1917 and 1923 within the White Armies, notably in the OSVAK, the Russian OSVAK, Осведомительное агентство, information agency basically. After the 1917 October Revolution, the government by the RSFSR under Vladimir Lenin replaced the Охрана with the Soviet security organization, the much larger and more efficient Cheka, in December 1917, supplemented by the GRU military intelligence from October to November in 1918. The Cheka and the successor organization, notably the GPU, eventually become the KGB. But about that we will talk in one of the future episodes. For now, I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to press subscribe button and see you soon. Bye.